Hi, nice to see you. After I published my last video about making the phone stand, a viewer contacted me and asked if I could make a stand for their device. And I of course said yes, so here we go. Today we are making a stand for Steam Deck. It's a gaming console. It's obviously bigger than the phone, thicker than the phone, and heavier than the phone. And I guess more challenge, more fun, right? Now, I have two pieces of walnut here. This one, we're going to use it for the backrest. This one, we will use this part for the base, because we will need some weight there, and they all have lovely figure and such. And in terms of tools, we'll try and keep it really simple. I've got a couple of rulers, I've got a sander, some wood glue, and our main tool for today will be the miter saw. Actually, our main tool for today will be this, because we will start by cutting some interesting angles into these pieces. And I don't know if you guys had fun attending the math classes back at school. Well, if you had fun, then you'll have some fun today. If you hadn't, you still might have some fun. So let's go. And we will start by cutting a trapezoid from this piece. And yes, you heard me right, a trapezoid. And I promise you this will be easier done than said. So roughly, I'm going to cut it here, and then obviously make it so that the angles here are equal, and then the angles here are equal. And here's how I'm going to make this. I will start by eyeballing the center line of this piece. Once I have the central line, I can draw two lines perpendicular to it and then mark equal distances on both sides respectively. This will ensure that the two sides of the base are at the same angle to the front and to the back. But how do I know what is this angle so that I can set it on my miter saw? Well, I know the dimensions I've just marked, so I used an online angle calculator and found out that I'm looking for 7 degrees. Now, how do I cut these angles equal on both sides? After the front face is cut, I just set my saw to 7 degrees, cut one side, and then flip the piece and cut the other side. So the problem I'm solving right now is I will need to cut this line, and it has to be parallel with this line, right? But since these are both at an angle, I can't really press it against the fence. So I have to either try and eyeball this, which I don't want to, or I've come up with the solution, which is going to be a spacer from a spare piece of plywood. You can see it has seen some beating already, but it can serve its last purpose. So what I will do is I will cut this one of the faces of this plywood at the same angle that these face, so 7 degrees. So what I have now is a piece of plywood that is cut at the same angle than the walnut here. And when I put them together, like this, there is going to be a 90-degree angle right here. Let me give you guys a tour of what I did here. So this plywood spacer right here is complementing the angle on the walnut. They are both cut at 7 degrees. And so when I press them both against the fence, what happens is I can cut my line straight. Okay, so our base is ready. These two edges are parallel to each other, and these two edges are cut at the same angle. So now it's time to insert the backrest piece. Here's my base piece. Here's the backrest piece. I will now have to put one into the other. And I will also have to cut a recess here to hold the bottom of the Steam Deck. I've done some tests off camera, some test cuts here, and I determined that 18 degrees would be the right angle, right? So this one holds the Steam Deck steadily, but obviously the recess will have to be less deep because otherwise it covers the part of the screen. So we'll cut a smaller recess, and then the backrest right here will do the rest of the job, pun intended. Okay, let's do the cuts. I will cut 18 degrees here all the way. And since it will be very uncomfortable for me to hold it so close to the blade, I will glue it to a piece of plywood. All right, it's good to go. Okay, so it's got a nice front face now. And we will proceed by measuring this part and cutting it straight. And I will not unglue this. I will just, use this helper up until I'm finished. Instead of measuring and then transferring the measurements, I will just do it like this. I will put a piece of plywood. Right here, I will align both parts against that piece of plywood. And then I will put a pencil mark here. And so I will need to cut it straight from this point onward. Actually a little bit deeper than that because the base part will have the recess, so I'm going to cut it from here onward. Okay. Backrest is marked onto the base, and I've transferred these marks on this edge too. So this is done. And I've cut the dado here too wide, so I guess I'm going to have to use epoxy and not the wood glue. We'll think about it later. So now I will have to cut the angled recess into the face. Okay. The depth and the angle are both set. It turns out this one is too wide, so I'm using the second piece, the one I cut from it. Doesn't make any difference, they're both the same angle. And so I'm gonna try and do a test cut right now. Now let's chisel down the saw marks before I can heat them with some sandpaper. The saw is still tilted to 18 degrees, so I'm going to do a test cut and we'll see how that flies. Okay, so this is how it looks. I think it's nice. You know what? I realized you can't really call this a good job. Okay, so this piece is wobbling here. This will not be a glue up, it won't hold. So instead of trying to cover this up with epoxy, I decided to take this as an opportunity to perfect my skills. And so I took the same scrap of walnut. Luckily, there was enough material, so I cut this piece oversized. And now I'm going to tight fit it here. Okay, it's a really nice tight fit now. It's all sitting in place. And these faces are in place too. And I guess all that is left is I'm going to sand everything before the glue up, and then I will put just a little droplet of glue here, and we're done. It's fit on every surface, zero clearance, and I'm going to wipe this down. And I will just put it here, and I'm going to go and have a cup of coffee, and then I'll be back for sanding and finish. And just like that, we'll check all the nooks and crannies, make sure that we've put the finish everywhere, and we will let it dry. Let's just have one final glance at the stand and the console together. There is definitely a slight ancient Egyptian look and feel to it, and I love how it turned out. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.